Hey everyone, and welcome to the Drinking Shed. Here we are again.
I'm Rob.
I'm Darren.
Again,
yes.
And yeah. So we're having Black Manhattans tonight.
Yes, we're,
Last of our clear ice cubes.
yes.
We had a small issue where we had a bag full of them and we left them on the bar and they became clear water
That's a royal we.
instead of clear ice.
Yeah.
It was a really sad moment as I was trying to save these
It wasn't
ice
really,
cubes. We just kind of forgot about them and left them in the bag.
I appreciate you taking the bullet for me on that one. That was me, I left him out.
Oh, I go, look, it's clear water.
Yes.
Oh, it was a
So to the guys down in Australia who make the clear ice, bravo, we know your pain.
That's right.
Not really.
Yeah, on an
anyway.
infinitesimal scale.
Yes,
right?
yes. So, what do you want to talk about tonight?
Hey, so we were sitting around trying to think what is a relevant topic to talk about, and what I thought was something different and always comes up is proof.
Right.
Everybody talks about proof.
Right.
And why do I care about proof and proof this, proof that, whatever?
Right. You go into a liquor store and you see whatever X percentage of them are, sitting at 80 proof, your bourbons, right?
Yeah.
And you say, oh, these are all 80 proofs. One, why do they stop at 80 proof? We know the story behind that.
We know why they have to be at 80 proof, right?
To make it a bourbon.
Right.
But, okay, so you have all these 80 proofs, and yet, here's an 86, so here's a 88, here's a 92. You don't see a lot of 88s.
No, you don't see a lot of
86s,
92s, 90s, right?
94s, 96s, right? What do we care? Why do we...
Yeah, I mean, if I look back to when, like, for instance, when I went to Scotland last fall, I brought back a couple of bottles. Mm-hmm. One a 9-year-old and one actually a 22-year-old. And the 9-year-old clocks in at 52.6 percent.
105 proof.
Yeah, basically, right? So that guy turned in at that, whereas the same thing, same place, a 22-year-old comes in at 53.2.
106.
Yeah, so they're pretty close, but the question is, well, how come? Well, that's how they came out of the cask at that time, right? They didn't do anything to them, so they could be construed as cask strength, whereas it's not quite like, let's say we get this guy a Booker's, right? Or
we won't take this out of the box because it's...
and then we have Little Book on the side as well, and we don't take that out of the box because they're huge, right?
The proof is so high, if it's out of the box, it kills things.
It's the boxing proof.
It's the boxing proof.
Right, so at 120 something.
Yeah, brutal.
Whereas
Which, by the way, in the right place is absolutely wonderful. I went to a whiskey tasting, and we did that with chocolate-covered bacon. We did Booker's with chocolate-covered bacon. Fabulous.
I'd still be there, by the way, if I went to that.
Fabulous. That was the greatest tasting I ever went to. It was all different bacons with different drinks. Anyway, fabulous.
I'm in wherever that was, by the way.
I would have either went with the whiskey or the bacon. Putting them together was just...
Genius!
Genius. Icing on the cake. Yeah.
Whereas you go to Michter's 10, and Michter's 10 clocks in at, I think it's about 94 proof.
Yeah.
So it's cut a little bit. It's delicious at what it's at. I think it's really... when they're at that distillery and they're working on where's that flavor profile fit, right? And that's kind of what we do when we're thinking about what are we going to use it for,
right?
And what does it have to stand up to,
right?
When we pick one of the 50 plus whiskeys that we have in here,
right?
Why do we choose what we choose?
If you put one in with an Amaro, or a Campari.
Yeah, so if you get one of these big, thick Amaros, like these guys here, right?
You need some proof behind you.
Yeah, something's got to stand up.
Right.
And if this one's a little bit bitter, we could even pull out, which we've done in the past, we've brought out our sweeter ones, but it's a little lighter hue on the sweeter one than it is the little bit more bitter.
So with this one, if you're making a drink, you're making a Black Manhattan, which we're drinking now.
Yeah, which I use this for, by the way.
This is what's in there.
Right,
we would want to bring out a little higher proof because this has got a little almost viscosity to it, right?
Yeah. So we want a 90 up plus to be able to stand up to that. Versus what we were talking about before was, look, I'm going to get home, I'm going to take out one of my small Glencairn type glasses, or maybe I'm going to take one of these small little guys right here and I'm going to put in a small ice cube. What do we like right after work?
I'm gonna do a little 80 proof, and there's nothing wrong with an 80 proof. It's just a little lighter. It's not got that
It doesn't have a punch to it.
Yeah.
Right. Unless maybe it's rye.
Right. Yeah, and that's funny because, right, you do 80 proof rye versus 80 proof bourbon, that rye is going to taste
a little bit spicier, so therefore more robust.
It adds a couple, 3-4 points just by being a rye, right?
It seems like it does,
spiciness behind it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I like these. It's good. Just, I don't know if I would mix
And you're big on this one. You really like this guy.
I like this one because I think it's a good, just come home from work and have a cocktail or have one on the rocks or one, neat. I think this is great.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think this is very good to mix with because it gets beat up a little bit. Unless you're going to do something light, right? Like if you're going to do, say, an old fashioned, maybe you could use something like this where you don't have a lot of heavy stuff coming in on top of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. You get a little sweetness to that with the sugar, so yeah.
You're kind of killing off a little bit of the
But remember earlier tonight, we this is like our second or third.
Yeah.
Tuesday's the new, Wednesday's the new, whatever today is.
Tuesday's the new Wednesday, which is the new Friday. Yeah.
We were saying, gee, this doesn't have the back end that we were looking for.
Exactly.
Right? It just didn't quite get over the hump. I liked the upfront flavor, but didn't quite get over the edge of what I wanted it for.
Right.
Yeah. So it really depends on how you make it. We were talking about this as well, which is we can take bottle and bonds. So we have bottle and bond rye from like a Wyoming whiskey. These guys make a great bottle and bond rye. Right. It's 100 proof. We know it's going to be 4 years. We got McKenna over here as well, bottle and bond. This is a bottle and bond 10 year. We're really high on this price point wise, and we love it for the price.
Yes,
it's fantastic.
I'm
unbeatable price.
I'm a huge Rittenhouse guy because I love that price point for the way it tastes. I think
these are great cocktails right here.
Yeah, great cocktails.
It stands up to where we want to put in it.
Right.
Yeah. But we can sip it, but we need ice, though.
Right. If you're going to do 100 proof, there's not a cocktail it doesn't stand up to. Right? Like a Vucare.
Yes.
Right? I mean, there's so many different flavors there, right? You're
two bitters.
Two bitters, right? You start getting into all of that. You've got to have a whiskey that's going to
stand up and say, I'm here. Otherwise,
for our old viewers, Bull Durham, I want to announce myself with my fastball, right? Remember when he was pitching, right? That's kind of what the whiskey is. You're announcing yourself with your fastball.
I'm here.
You got to say, I'm here.
Yep.
And that requires a fairly big proof when you're doing a big cocktail like that. Because you're putting a lot of things in there. What do we have the other day? The Suburban.
The Suburban cocktail, yeah.
Where we put rum and port in there.
Yeah.
Right? So we had to put a high proof whiskey in there. We had to put a high proof whiskey in there to stand up to that. To say, otherwise it would have got hidden and you would have never known. It would have been a rum port drink.
And that's the thing, it's that marriage, right? You have to get that balance.
And I think
that's really what that's the proofing. The proofing allows that balance to happen.
And I don't think you can just pick 3 things up and say this works. You can get lucky. But for the most part, I think you got to do that a few times.
And if you go to the mega store and there's 400 whiskeys there, how do you pick?
Right.
Well, sometimes you just look for proof when you're overwhelmed by choice. You're like, well, maybe I'll just take this proof because I want to make this cocktail.
Especially if it's a known entity, the maker, the distiller.
Yeah.
And you can say, well, I know if I get something from this distiller, it's probably going to be pretty good anyway.
Yep.
And now let's start looking maybe a little bit of proofs.
Yep. And that's how we go about it.
I agree. I think that's a good way to do it, and it's
something to start with anyway.
Something to start with.
That's enough on this subject for today.
That's a lot of talk about proof.
But anyway, again,
I'm Darren.
And I'm Rob.
Thanks for coming to the shed, and we'll see you again next time.
Yep, take care.
Thanks.